Today we're going to save some money with decorative mirrors from Dollar Tree. I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back. We're going to do a vintage pedestal tray first. Alright, so I'm going to use some decorative papers, and I do not recall where I got these from. They may have been thrifted, who knows. Here are the mirrors we're using. We'll have 3 of those in total, 1 for each project. They came from Dollar Tree. They have a black trim, and they are about this big. This is a thrifted, I guess this is a candle stand maybe, I don't know. Some type of little pedestal. It's like a glass, it's hard. I don't know how to describe it. I've got some E6000, and of course a glue gun. We're going to use Mod Podge. I like the matte better. Alright, we're going to start by taking the plastic off our mirrors, of course, and you're going to want to wipe down everything. For this one, the glass is going to be covered, so mainly want to just remove the dust. Mod Podge is going to cover everything else up that might be on there. Sometimes it's, kind of hazy or fingerprints or whatever happens when they're being packaged. So we're going to start by taking off the back and then carefully get that mirror out. You don't want to cut your fingers in case there's any rough little edges. This is a plastic frame. Lots of possibilities. I'm going to use a brushed gold because it's very similar to what's going on in that pedestal. We're not going to fight it, right? I'm going to go with it. And I'm going to start by carefully going over the frame, just brushing this on here. Y'all know I love my rich espresso, but we're gonna go with what's going on in the frame. Sometimes you just got to try something different, right? And I think the results are great. I add a little bit at a time, just building up until I get to the look that I like. And y'all don't forget your sides. You definitely want to make sure everything is done that's going to be seen. So get your sides in there too. Try not to leave fingerprints while it's still damp. If you get anything from the thrift store, you know you need to clean it. You need to wipe it all down, get off any dust, any hairspray, any nicotine, whatever. Look at this decorative edge. I did not even notice that until I was cleaning it and I felt it with my hands. So I want to bring that out a little bit more. I'm going to go over that with some of that same gold. And then I've been thinking about getting some rub and buff, but I have such good results with the paint that I don't even know if it would be worth it. What do you think? Do you use rub and buff? I just don't know. I love my paints. I love my acrylics and my chalk paints. All right, so now I'm just brushing over. I don't want to take away all that black because then I would have to go back in and add that aging. I don't want to do that. So we're just going to kind of brush over it. You can still see the darkness in there, and I like that. Now I'm going to take these papers. Look, if y'all have any botanical paper, scrapbook paper, or whatever, just tea stain it. There are lots of videos that will show you how to tea stain paper to get this dark look. So just do that and you can get your dark look. These may have come from Temu. I'm not entirely sure. Alright, so now I'm going to tear my edges because I don't want anything to be cut. I don't want any lines on there. I want everything to be a little more edgy, a little more frayed edge. So I'm just going to take all these pieces apart, and I can focus on the bigger sections to make them, be like the floral pieces that are bigger, and then I can make some smaller pieces with the smaller flowers, and then grab some pieces of the handwriting or the typing that is on there, and we can add that on there as well. I want a little bit of everything. So here's a huge pile. I have even more on there than I actually need. I'm going to add on my matte Mod Podge. I just don't want it to be glossy. I want it to be matte. That's why I'm using this. You could probably use satin though if you wanted to, if you had to. And if you don't have Mod Podge, you can use school glue for this, okay? So go and get you some Jot school glue, something at Dollar Tree if you need to. Now, I was thinking about other ways, other things you could use, and I thought I would not recommend like cards because if you use a card, like a birthday card or something like that, they're very thick, and I'm not sure that they would stick down as well. This is just like regular paper texture, maybe a tad thicker, but definitely not cardstock. You could even use like napkins. If you found really pretty decorative napkins, you could do this too. Yeah. And we're doing this with a mirror. But there's no trays this size that I like, so this is going to be perfect for this project. You got to think outside the box. A mirror doesn't mean you have to be able to look into it, right? But don't worry, we're going to have one of those too in here, so don't worry, you'll see that too. Now, as I lay down my pieces, I want to be sure they overlap so I don't have any mirror showing through. If you do, though, in the end, you can always go back and add a little bit more in the spots that you can see. And I want my bigger sections of flowers to be the main focus in here, so I want to use big sections of those beautiful spring and summer flowers. Adding it on like a puzzle piece, right? This is kind of messy. You might want to use some gloves in here. It's totally up to you. And we're just sandwiching down all that paper in between the Mod Podge. So there's Mod Podge underneath, and we're going to put Mod Podge on top. And I want to keep all of my strokes, my final strokes, going in the same direction. And you see all the little extra spots? Those will be filled in with extra pieces of paper. I don't mind it overlapping because we are going to take care of that soon. We don't want that to be a concern right now. Just focus on getting those pieces down. See, there's tiny pieces in here. Look, there's like a stamp. I really like that, so I want to tear away all the edge on that. I want to add that in there. I think that's pretty. And the stuff you really want to be noticed is the stuff that you want to put on your outer layers as you're building upward. There's a little flower on the corner, and I'll tear that away and add that here. Hey, if you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. We're always thinking outside of the box, trying to do a little something unique. We do Dollar Tree and thrift flips and Temu and bargain store projects. So you never know what you're going to find on this channel. But we like color. Okay, so once it's dry, you can see you even see the pieces of the Mod Podge that are like little flakes on the side. You can pick that off. Now this is one solid piece. I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm taking my smaller ones because I can lay that blade right on the side and follow that curve all the way around. This is going to give me a very close cut. If you don't get close enough or there's some areas you think need some aging, go ahead and take your finger sander or a block of sandpaper and gently go over the paper, but try to stay away from getting on the glass because you may end up with little shards of glass, and I don't want anybody to get hurt. Look how pretty that is. Now this is the matte finish Mod Podge. If you would have used glossy on there, that would have really been something. That would have been really, really reflective. I'm not looking for that though. I don't want to look like it's got glass over it. All right, so to put it back in and to keep it nice and secure, since this will be a tray, I am going to put some Gorilla Glue in there, drop that mirror right back in, and then adding a little bit of glue around there. I'll put the backing right back on. Watch your fingers. And I'm trying to get it centered, but you know, it's underneath the project, so you won't see it that much. Now I'm going to take 4 little dots of my glue, and then I'm going to add the hot glue in between. I'm not going to mix them. From what I understand, if you mix the two together, it will break down your permanent results. So not mixing, but putting them side by side. And once I give it a chance to grab onto that glue, we'll flip it over, and this is how it looks. I love this. It looks antique. This would look really good in a Victorian home. You might even can get away with putting this in a Gothic look. Definitely dark academia, because we have the writing and it looks like a book on the top and it's aged looking. So many possibilities with this pedestal. All right, right on the inside there, that final ring right there, I feel like it needs a little something else to stand out. So I'm just going to take a fine brush. It's got a fine tip, but it's got long bristles. And I'll take that same gold paint and just trace in there to fill that out. Think of all the things you could put on this tray. You could put candles on here. That would be really pretty. I'll show you what you can do in the end screen, or what I decided to do, but you could do so many things with this. So many options. Absolutely adore this one. Hey, come check out my new videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. I'll see you in the comments. The next is going to be a deco paper framed mirror. So you're actually going to see a mirror. I got a little scraper or a squeegee. This is some wallpaper, and I have done projects with this before. This is like a contact paper, I guess, from Temu. This is another mirror, and then this is a round from Dollar Tree. All right, so now we're going to clean this one because we're going to be doing some things to the glass, and we want the surface to be nice and clean. So I'm using regular glass cleaner, and I am going to clean it with paper towel. Set it aside. Then I'm going to work on the base, which is going to be that round. I'm going to spread out that contact paper. I think this was actually listed as wallpaper on Temu, but it may be contact paper. There's like a language thing, but you know, you can go get any contact paper from anywhere you like. You don't have to use contact paper. You can use probably scrapbook paper. I think a regular 12 by 12 of scrapbook paper would fit on these wood rounds, but don't quote me on that. Now save those scraps because look at all the goodies here we could use in other projects. Love it. This is not a sponsored video. I just like getting, you know, a variety of different items. Not everybody in the world has a Dollar Tree or a pound store. There are some places that do not have that, but since Temu ships everywhere, you know, there's a little more options for people, and I don't want anybody to be excluded in my videos, right? I don't want anybody to be excluded from the joy of crafting. All right, now I'm going to carefully take that and put it down. I'm trying to eyeball it and let the center drop first, and then let one hand go and make sure that it is nice and flat. This particular paper tears pretty easily, so it's not like a thick wallpaper. It's just a warning to you. You've got to be a little more ginger, a little more careful with this. So I'm going to grab a squeegee here, and of course I didn't even use the one that I had on the table. Grab my Mod Podge squeegee. It's rubbery, it's not hard, and I just like it. It feels good in my hand. I have small hands, so I just kind of go with what I grab, right? Same thing here with the smaller scissors. I'm going to lay it to the side, and look how easy this just goes right through that paper. So if you keep pressing it against the edge, why do I love that? Why is that so satisfying? I don't know. All right, and then you can go ahead and age it a little bit, and there's still a little bit of an edge there that we didn't get with the scissors. Go all the way around it. I'm going to use my finger dauber and a paper towel with my antiquing wax. I'm going to go around my edges because you know this is what I do. I think doing this puts that dark around the edge, and it just makes everything pop in the center. It takes all of the attention to the center, and I really, really like that look. If you don't like an aged look or a rustic look, you don't have to do that step. You don't have to do that at all. Now we need to find center here, or somewhat center, because you know I'm not going to measure, but you measure if you need to. And I'm going to press it down. Now this is glass. You don't want to press hard on that because it will break. Nobody wants a broken mirror, right? And do we know why? Yeah, if you're superstitious, you know why. So taking a water wipe, this is they're baby wipes, but they're called water wipes. I'm just going to go around the edge. Y'all, if you're wondering why I use those baby wipes instead of paper towels, it's because they do not shed. And I don't want anything shedding when I'm doing this and crumbling in my hand. So the baby wipe works well. I'm also going to take the wax and go right over the black frame. It just does a little something extra to the color of the black, and I like it. And then I'm going to go around my edge a little bit more, kind of feather it into the other part that we aged and daubed off. Then I'll take some shimmering silver and some dark gray, or medium gray I think it was, and just kind of turn my little chippy brush side to side, use different areas so I don't have the same print everywhere, and just kind of make this look like maybe it's breaking down some. Hi, there I am in the mirror. Did not fix my hair that day, but y'all, I got it cut off and I am loving it. You know that first day when you get a haircut and you put your hand through it like you're expecting to grab a ponytail and move it to the... There's nothing. There's nothing there. It's very short in the back. And then I'm going to go over it with a little bit of the silver, and I'm going to stay toward the edges where we have antique mirrors in our home, and the edges is where it seems to break down the most. So I'm just going to focus on the outside so the inside of the mirror can still be used practically. Okay? Now I'll take my finger dauber after that is dry and just dot over the silver and the gray. This is kind of making it look a little more there's layers to the dimension in an aged piece, right? So that's what I'm trying to emulate here. I didn't look this up. I'm sure that somebody else has done this in a better way than me, but I actually have done aging on a mirror before. I did like a woodland mirror, really pretty with mosses on it. I'll try to link that video down in the description box for you, so you can check that one out if you would like. You know, it's not the look for everybody, and not everybody is going to enjoy everything in that video, but you can take a gander and see what you think. So I'm going to just continue to build up and layer around. I decided I wanted a little more dimension around the mirror where it attaches to the backing. So I'm just going in with a slanted brush, adding a little bit of that, and then kind of dabbing, whatever you want to call it, to just get it off, blend it in a little bit, and look at the difference in the dimension around that mirror. I really like that. Looks kind of like a porthole, don't it? Speaking of portholes, I'm going to be going on a cruise. I'm going to actually be leaving to travel on the 22nd, and I won't be back home until March. Or not available, let's put it that way. So, yeah, we're going to be on the Crafty Cruise getaway. If you guys are interested and you did not get a chance to get in on the fun this year, we are going to be doing it again next year. Different port, different location. But stay tuned because we will be getting that information out to you when we get back from the cruise. Now we're going to put a hanger on the back. Yep. Oh, by the way, you want to keep your notifications on if you're subscribed to the channel. If not, you need to go ahead and subscribe. When you hit the notifications, you're going to be sure that every time an update is made here or in my community post, you will see that. And you need to keep up with me there. You really do. Important things happen there. Now we got our hanger. All my channel members, you help my channel financially so everyone else can enjoy free content. You can find info on becoming a member in the description box below. The third one is a shabby chic wreath. All right, so we're going to use some jute ribbon or burlap ribbon. It says jute on the container there. I'm going to use some old lace. This was sent to me by Lana. I believe it was Lana. Then I have some IOD transfers. These are rub-on transfers. I'm just going to use one that looks kind of vintagey and pretty. Look at all the goodies in here. This is one that's from last season, but they're coming out with new stuff. So if you like IOD, go check them out. Another mirror, and I'm going to be using this frame. Now this is a thrifted frame, but you can certainly get one at Dollar Tree of similar measurements. They're a little different. The shape is a little different. I think that's the only thing. All right, so you don't have to glue this down. You twist it tightly upon itself, and it is not going to come loose. And we'll overlap it in the end, so it'll be fine. I had just enough ribbon on this spool to get all the way around this and back into the front of it. We're going to take it, wrap it around the front, go to the back, and then you can tuck under if you don't want anything to fray. You can trim off if you need to trim off. And then we'll glue it right over where we started. It's going to help hold everything in place. That tape is where it was attached to the spool. So I'm telling you, we had just enough scrap left there to use it. That was thrifted. I get a lot of thrifted ribbon in spools that are partly used. I suppose people do their projects, and then if they don't need it, then they donate it, which works great for me because I had just enough of this wreath. How about that? Okay, so let's take this mirror apart. Take off the back. Careful with the mirror part. Don't want to break anything. See how dirty the mirror is? Let's clean it up. Be sure you don't spray your transfer. It does have a plastic over the top, but you know, I had to remind myself to get it out of the way. So now we've cleaned it and we've dried it, and this antique parchment is what we're going to put on here. Started off with a chippy brush. Have no idea why I did that. I knew better, but let me show you why we don't want to use necessarily a chippy brush with acrylic paint on our mirror. Now, if you enjoy a very streaky coverage with pieces of brush coming off into your paint, then the chippy brush is going to be for you. No, not for me. So I'm going to grab a very soft brush and go over the top and look at the difference in application of the paint with a very soft bristle synthetic brush. So I'm just going to glob some more on there. I do not want to necessarily make this look even all the way through. You don't have to get all the way to the edges. You can leave it a little bit open on the edges if you would like. You see here how it looks? When it dries, it will look a bit different, but I want it to look old. We're going to set that aside and let it dry. I like to put mine in front of a fan. Then I'm going to grab that frame, and we're going to use the same color on top of here. I used 2 coats of this paint on top of this frame. Be sure that you're looking at all angles every time you do a craft project, but with painting especially. Be sure that you make sure you don't leave any spots. Any place that is going to be seen when your project is finished has got to be covered. Especially with black, it would really stand out with that cream color parchment paint. We don't want that to happen. All right, so here is the backing. I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And I want to do that because it makes me feel a little bit better about the safety of the glass being attached down to that backing if I'm moving it around a lot on my table. If it was to slip out of my hand and landed on the paper, it might not break. So that's kind of my thought process. But you do you, as always. Make it your own. Okie dokie. Now, I have pulled out this beautiful, beautiful Victorian, shabby, chic-y looking piece. I'm going to kind of eyeball the center, and then I'm going to pat it down with my hands a little bit. It will kind of hold to the paint that's under there, so that's a good thing. And then I'll take the little tool that they give you when you buy their transfers, and I am going to just start burnishing that down. Now, the ladies sent me my transfers and some stamps too to try out to see if I liked them. This is not a sponsored video, but yeah, ladies, I'll be sending you the link to this. I love these. Love them. I have a little area where I don't know if it's because I had thicker paint there or what, but I couldn't quite get my words to stick down. So I just took my little wooden tool here and went over it, and she came off with no problem. Look at the gorgeousness. Everything is sticking down. I'm kind of pressing it. You're actually supposed to take that top that you peeled off and kind of burnish it down. I don't actually show you that. And then this time you can grab that brush. I'm going to pat some of that off, and I'm going to go right over the top because in my head this is a painted piece, right? We want this to look like it is vintage and old and hand painted, and doing this to me really kind of seals the deal on that. I love that look. Now I'm going to grab my antiquing wax, and I'll go over the edge just like I do in my other projects because everything needs to be consistent, right? Especially if these are pieces that you might want to use together. Although the shabby chic is a little bit different from the other two, but you know, you can decide on your own how you would like to do it. I just like to give you options here. Like to give you lots of inspiration. You're not necessarily going to have the exact same things I have, especially when it comes to thrifted items, but you may have something in your closet that you can use. And I do have subscribers and viewers that tell me all the time, I don't have that, but I do have this, and I'm going to go get it. Had it for 2 years, haven't used it, and now I know what to do. Y'all, that makes me so happy. Let's not hang on to that clutter. If there's something we can do to it to change it and make it more to our taste, let's do that. Let's bring that joy into our home with making our surroundings be exactly how we like them, right? Now, if you use a little bit on the edge to bring it inward, look at the difference that makes. It just, for me, gives more dimension. It just gives more interest, and it really carries through that aged look. You know how dust and things settle on the edges? Oh, man. This is just, I love this. Love it. Hope you're getting inspired. Are you getting inspired? She's a beaut. All right, and now we can go over the top. Let your layers dry in between so you're not smearing things around. If you put this in top of that cream, it's just going to look muddy. It's got to be dry before you put the next layer on, or you will muddy up your picture. And I've seen, unfortunately, I have seen some muddy messes before in watching videos, and I feel so bad because I'm thinking, take a little more time, that's going to dry, and it would be so beautiful. All right, so now this is dry, and we're going to give it some aging. You see, I tracked it down the paper for you so you could tell just how much we actually have on that brush. I'm going to go all around this, To me, it makes more sense on a round object to go back and forth following the curve. I don't know. It grabs on all the little detailed areas and I like it. Now see, I accidentally scratched it here. I'm like, okay, you know what? We're going to go with that. We're going to go with that and we're going to put our own little scratches on there. So you can actually do that with your fingers. You can do that with a like a little tool. You can scratch it. Yeah. I'm going to go around my edges because, again, you don't want to leave anything out. So this is when I was like, you know, we're going to go with it. And I'm just going to take this little tool and just kind of scratch over it. And even with it being acrylic paint, it scratches very easy and it looks old. I love it. Now we can put our things back together. A little glue and the mirror. You can use your little tabs on the back if you want to give it a little more security. Totally up to you. And in order to attach this to our wreath, I'm going to need something to go in the channel around the edge so that there's an area to put some paint. Because you can't put it in the center, right? Because it's a wreath. It's wide open. You can't do that. So we're going to go right down in the channels. Just use some building blocks if you have some, or whatever is going to fit in your mirror. You may have some scrap wood that you can put there. Put that in there, and I'm going to just do it in 4 areas, just so I feel like it's more secure if it's down in 4 spaces. I would definitely recommend 4. If you do 2, you might have some issues. I don't want anybody's beautiful piece. You put all that work into it, you don't want it falling off and breaking, right? Definitely not. So I'm going to use my big glue gun here and put a good bit of glue. I want it to really go through and cling to that jute or burlap ribbon that's on the back. I do not want this coming off. You could wire it down if you wanted to do that, but this was just easier for me. I'll take that piece of lace and just cut that into pieces. Y'all, I want you to know, I appreciate y'all so much. I do respond back in the comments when you tell me that you're sending me happy mail, but I don't think people always check their notifications, and you won't see them unless you hit the little bell when you subscribe to the channel. So I'm just going to go ahead right now and thank several ladies who have sent me crafting supplies that they are no longer using or that they won't be using anymore, and I am tickled to death. I've gotten lace and ribbons and little hanging things. I got a Victorian photo album book in the mail that is beautiful. I am going to be using that in some Victorian projects over the summer, possibly in the springtime, because I cannot wait to get into it. It is stunning. It brought tears to my eyes. That's how beautiful it is. And the generosity that somebody would send me this unused photo album. It's just, I can't. I love y'all. I really do. Okay, so I'm just stacking up layers of ribbon and lace so that we can make ourselves a little messy bow to go on here. You can cut dovetails, you can cut slants, you can just pull them so they ravel just a little bit, however you want to do it. And then I'm going to grab another piece of that beautiful lace and I'm going to tie that in the back, right in the center. This is probably about 5 inches if I had to guess. So I probably had 10 inches to begin with, cut it in half, made 5 inches. If you make too big of sections, then it's going to be very, very floppy and it's going to fall over onto the picture, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to cut the 2 pieces off, but leave them in there that we had. Cut those off. Yeah, they're going to be part of the bow now. And then you can kind of fluff around a little bit. And when I put this on, it's going to be slightly off to the right. Is not going to be in the exact center. You could hot glue this right now if you want to do that. That is certainly okay for you to do. But I'm going to use a little bit of this thin wire. I think it's a 26 gauge wire. And I'm going to poke it through the knot in the back, which I could have done in the beginning, but you know I never do it. Why I can't think about it. I need to put a sticky note somewhere so that I remember, but I don't do it. So y'all just know if you don't do it and you're absent-minded like I am sometimes, you can fix it. Okay, so it's slightly off to the side. I like that. Like a little asymmetry every now and then. I'm going to twist that wire, and then I can either tuck the wire underneath into the frame, which is what I do, or you can trim it off. Now I can fluff a little bit, push it to the side. If anything is falling down, you can go ahead and, trim those off a little bit so they're not obscuring the beautiful piece in the middle. I'm going to add one more piece to look sort of like tails, just with a little bit of hot glue under the bow. And it's going to extend over just a little bit. At that point, you could also glue it down, but it's not getting them away, so I'm going to leave it there. Yeah. And I think I'm happy here. So let's go ahead and make a hanger. This is about 12 inches, which I'll fold over onto itself. And then we're going to glue it to the back. I'll add a little glue, and then be careful, protect your fingers, press it into there. It's going to go through both layers, and then for a little extra security and to make sure nothing's scratching my wall or door, I'll just add in one more piece of lace across that. Cover the whole back if you're giving it as a gift, y'all. All right, and this is how she is going to look. Hope you like that shabby chic. Okay, now ladies and gents, here are the 3 projects that we did today using Dollar Tree mirrors, and we gave them a vintage style makeover. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel and give me a like if you enjoyed the content that you found here. We do budget-friendly DIYs. They're not free. Most of my projects you got to pay a little something for, but I make them as inexpensive and as unique as possible to bring some joy into your home. Along the lines, I'm always going to give you some motivation, some support, and some love because it's important. We all need that. Okay, so I'm showing you the mirror 2 ways because I didn't want you to see me in my pajamas. So I put the candles in front in the first view, but here's a closer look at all the little details that we did that made this look extra aged, extra gorgeous. You can also use this as a tray if you would like. Here is that gorgeous tray without the candles, so you can get an idea of what it would look like, you know, just by itself sitting there. I hope you enjoyed all of these pieces today. I hope you know how important and valued you are. And I thank you so much for choosing this time to come be with me today and see what we're making on the channel. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.